My job is to kind of start us off with how we got where we are, why the county executive felt we had to take this big, dramatic step. And it is a $50 million commitment, multiple-year commitment to create a loan fund primarily to serve the small business community in Prince George's County. It is flexible and can do some other things. But the key was the county executive identified $50 million at the end of the last fiscal year from unappropriated surplus, and that money has been put into an account that will fund this $50 million over 5, 6, or 7 years. The first year's appropriation is a smaller amount prorated. The idea is to create a new source of capital for you in the small business community to address the fact that we know the capital markets have slowed down, and to address the fact also that our job growth has not been what we would like it to be, and we haven't had a tool that our neighbors have had. I do want to say, because there's a reason why we had to take this serious step, but we live in a great county. We live in a county where the population has a better higher education rate than the nation as a whole. We're better compensated than the nation as a whole. Our unemployment rate is lower than the nation as a whole. We've got metro station assets that no one else has. We have 17 federal facilities from NASA and Goddard and IRS and Census, and we have the University of Maryland and Bowie and the community college. We have these outstanding assets. But despite these great assets, when we look at how Prince George's County has performed, when the county executive took office a year ago and looked at the numbers and tried to understand what the challenge was that was before him, we realized that first, we knew businesses were having great difficulty in the capital markets. But most important, when we looked at Prince George's County's performance for the last 10 years, we saw that we had fallen behind our neighbors. This chart is kind of dramatic, and it starts in 2000, when Prince George's County had 800,000 residents and 300,000 jobs. Now, things got good there for a few years, and we peaked in 2007 with about 316,000 jobs. And then the Great Recession hit, and you all know that very well, and it was some tough days for everyone. We are back down to now where we were in the year 2000 with jobs. We have 63,000 new residents in Prince George's County in that 10-year period, and we have no new jobs to show for them. That's the seriousness of the issue that the county executive saw, and the challenge that when he understood we needed to change things dramatically in the business community. This chart tells a story of Prince George's County compared to our neighbors, and it is a ratio of the number of jobs in our jurisdiction compared to our population. Now, that top line is Howard County, and that's over 50%. That means they have essentially one job in Howard County for every 2 residents. The green line is Montgomery County. They're over 45%. So it's almost one job for every 2 residents. Then you see Anne Arundel County, and they're well over 40%, close to 45%. Prince George's County's number is about 36, 37%. It's just over one job for every 3 residents. That's why 60% of the people in Prince George's County who have jobs have to drive out of Prince George's County for their employment. Now, we're glad we're in a regional economy, and we're glad those jobs are there. But I know that the county executive and the county council are committed to creating jobs in Prince George's County for Prince George's County residents. Overall, this meant that the county executive and the county council were faced a year ago with a county that over-relied on its residential tax base and didn't have a strong enough commercial tax base. And we all know what our houses are worth now compared to what they were before, and with a 3-year assessment cycle, the county government leaders are faced with the fact that the residential taxes are frankly not going to dig us out of that hole. And at the end of the day, we understand that economic development is really the means to an end. It's all about creating revenues so that county government can meet its basic services, education, public safety, recreation, and so forth. We want jobs for Prince George's County residents. That's what Ms. Reed and Mr. Thager and I are all about, and Ms. McCall and Ms. Shelley Gross-Wade. But at the same time, we also understand it is our job to help create the revenue stream that allows county government to do what it needs to do. So that overall is how we ended up in this situation, and the facts that face our county government leaders, and inspired them to take this very dramatic step to create the Economic Development Incentive Fund. And I'm now going to turn it over to to Ms. Gwen McCall, who will talk about how the fund is going to operate.
There are three ways that actually you can do the application form. You can go online and you can actually submit your application electronically. When you do that online, one of these business development specialists that you just met will actually download that, contact you to schedule time for you to come in so they can actually go over that application with you and begin the process. You can also download and fill out a paper copy and actually bring that into the Economic Development Corporation. Again, when you come in, you're going to meet with one of the business development specialists that will schedule a time for you to actually come back, and then they can go through the process. And lastly, you can come in and you can pick up a paper application. You can fill that out when you get an opportunity, schedule again while you're actually there, and then one of the business development specialists will contact you so you can go through that process. The actual application form, this is actually what it looks like. It's a very user-friendly form, and with this, when you actually log in, you're going to be creating a user ID. Once you create that user ID, it's going to actually allow you the flexibility to go in and out of the application. It's, again, I said it's a user-friendly process, and it prompts you all the way through. If you're online and you're actually doing the application and something comes up for whatever reason and that you have to stop, with that user ID at any point in time, you can go back in and you can log in and you can resume exactly where you left off. Also, with that application, it gives you the ability at any point in time to go in to check the status of your application, to actually see where it is. What can the EDI fund be used for within Prince George's County? The acquisition of land for businesses that wanted to relocate to the county, and you're needing to acquire land to be able to do that, or you're needing to purchase a building, or business expansion, that you want to take your business to the next level, so you need to purchase space to be able to grow your business. Machinery, equipment, and associated costs to help you be able to run your business. It's also for construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, repair, and improvement of buildings. We also use the purpose you can use it for is the relocation fees. That's to assist you to offset some of the costs if you're relocating to the county. Training expenses to train existing employees, or if you decide to bring on additional employees, there's funds available so that you can train those new employees, and also working capital to keep you going. The statutory purposes of the fund is for business attraction, retention, and expansion. With the EDC, what our role is to go out and be able to attract businesses to come to Prince George's County. And obviously, everybody's looking for that big win. We want to attract a large tenant to be able to come here. But most importantly, we need to retain our existing businesses, and that's you. You're basically the core fabric of our community, and we need to be able to work with you to retain your business so that you can actually grow and remain in the county. And it's also funds, again, like I said, that you can use to be able to do business expansion. We want to be able to create new jobs. And again, most important, we want to be able to retain jobs for our county residents. Ultimately, this is going to allow us to broaden the commercial tax base, which is what this fund was designed for. We also want to promote economic growth in the developed tier and gateway communities that have suffered from lack of investment where market dynamics are not sufficient. We're looking at places like Suitland, great opportunity leading into the district to be able to develop in that area. Also in Hyattsville, where it's economic development revitalization is taking place right now, to be able to extend that into the district, cross-border relationship with the district, that provides a great opportunity for us to take advantage of that. And also areas like in Langley Park, where you have Prince George's and Montgomery County together, being able to create that synergy and opportunities going in and out of the county. Are there any priorities? Yes, special priority projects that maximize the local minority business enterprise. That's basically going to be high on our list of priorities, along with employment opportunities for county residents. That's going to take priority, and that's huge for us. Also, the opportunity to develop around our metro stations, the 15 underutilized metro stations in Prince George's County. This fund is going to give us the tool, the vehicle to be able to do that. And then balance local economy and also international resources and trade. At this point, we have to look beyond our local and national economy for opportunities to expand. we have to be able to look at the global market, which is what we're currently doing. Looking at emerging markets like India, China, and Brazil, that's going to present great opportunities for us, and we have to be poised and ready to be able to take advantage of that. Geographic priorities basically is what I just spoke with you about. This basically shows you the location of all the metro stations, the gateway communities, and then the developed tier. Thank you, and now I'm going to turn this over to Shelley Grosswade.
First and foremost, you have to submit a complete application. That application is largely consistent with what a traditional bank would require. We obviously want our businesses to be able to attract as much debt, equity, and other people's money to their project as possible. So one of the things we're looking at is how does the EDI fund leverage other people's money. We're also committed to offering those dollars at market interest rates and terms, subject to case-by-case evaluation. One would ask, if those are your criteria, then how are you different from a bank? And the answer to that is we're evaluating your project based on its merits and not on the historical performance exclusively of the company. We're also evaluating it based on the economic impact that will be derived from us investing in your project. And so first and foremost is the project creating jobs? Are those jobs in our targeted areas? And is the industry one that we support? And last but not least, does the project have the ability to repay? All loans will be collateralized or securitized with the owner's cash or pledged assets. And last but not least, there is an application fee, and the application fee is 1% of the loan amount. So what documents do I need to get started? We've divided this into two processes. One is a pre-qualification, the other is a full application. If you just want some general indication as to whether or not the project is something that we deem appropriate and eligible for financing through the EDI fund, then we're asking you to submit these few documents. A signed application, which includes a description of the project, your ability to define the community benefit, as well as the local employment estimate. We recognize that some companies may have multiple locations. We're primarily interested in the jobs that will benefit Prince George's County. We also need your personal financial statement. A confidentiality agreement will be executed between us and you. And last but not least, we need a current credit report on the principles of the business. That report should be no less than 6 months old, no more than 6 months old. The documents that will be needed eventually in the application process, after we've evaluated your preliminary information, we'll give you some feedback as to whether or not we think you're meeting the eligibility criteria that we're looking for. The EDC will continue to be involved in that process and communicate with you that we're well on our way to moving to the next level. At that point, you're going to bring in these documents: a detailed business plan, including your business financial statements, cash flow projections, tax returns, resumes of the company owners, a debt summary, a collateral description, and any relevant contracts, agreements, and leases. At this point, we're moving to full underwriting to determine exactly how the deal will be funded. We're not asking you to have all the answers to the puzzle. We do need you to be very familiar with how the project will be successful. We're going to focus on your marketing strategy and your exit strategy. And this concludes the application process. But as you've heard my colleague Gwen McCall state, EDC is the front door for the EDI fund. So for those of you who may not be eligible for the EDI fund, we will look to match you with other financing solutions that are available both locally and regionally. And they may include loans and grants from other sources, tax credits that can leverage the project, and for most people, tax credits equate to a savings in their cash flow. So we will calculate that into the return on investment that Prince George's County will yield as a result of investing in your business. We'll also look at tax increment financing to see if you're eligible for that or if your deal qualifies for revenue bonds. Any in-kind contribution that can be made from the county or the state, workforce services and taxes that you would earn on use of workforce services, and technology. If there are funding available for technology-based businesses, we'll also introduce those to your project. So that concludes the application process and what we're looking for. Obviously, we don't want anyone to walk away feeling like this is not for you. There may be a solution to your financing needs, so we ask that you go through the front door of EDC and allow us the opportunity to bring the solutions that your business deserves. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Aubrey Thagard, our Assistant Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Economic Development and Public Infrastructure.
Good evening. I'm going to help start the process to dive into what you really want to find out about, how you can use, or shall they say, take advantage of the EDI fund. Most of the awards coming from the EDI fund will be loans to our small and medium-sized businesses here in the county here. Small businesses, of course, drive the economy both nationally, and that is, of course, ever more present here in the county on a local basis here. Now, under some extraordinary circumstances here, such as, let's say, a large corporate client, such as a Microsoft, or for that fact, even a federal tenant, that shall remain nameless with 3 letters, will there be a circumstance where there could be a large number of jobs that are coming into competitive situations where we would like to provide some type of incentive. A grant situation may be in order in that sense there. Now, our target, of course, is to grow the commercial tax base, to add and retain jobs, and actually to expend these funds that are consistent with the priorities and purposes of the EDI fund as established through the statute that was enacted. And let's talk about when that was enacted here. The effective date of the EDI fund was January 3rd of this year here, which is also another important day because it's the birthday of our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Carla Reed. And the availability of those funds came into place in January 23rd of 2012 here. Now, there was a lot of work that took place really from the day that it was signed in November into law into this very day here. And I want to take a couple of seconds just to recognize a couple of other folks. Again, David Iannucci, but also Lavinia Baxter, who's our special assistant here. Lavinia. Lavinia's done a yeoman's job in doing a lot of the legwork to really get us to this point with the website, with the application process, and I think she deserves definitely a lot of recognition for getting us here today. Our goal for acceptance of applications is tomorrow, and we will be going live. So the website that you saw will be up and running on the county website. You'll be able to access that. Well, I was told actually it's up now. So for those of you who are a little bit more ambitious and want to get ahead of the rush, you can start tonight when you get home. Let's talk about getting in contact with someone to talk about applying for the loan here. Now, there is a telephone hotline set up at the Economic Development Corporation. And of course, as we like to say, the EDC is our front door when it comes to economic development. You can call the telephone hotline at 301-583-4601. You can also go to the website at www.edifund.pgcedc.com. And we also have email at edifund@pgcedc.com here. Now, with that hotline, our business development specialists, they may not be standing by, but they will be able to respond to your call, hopefully within 24 hours of the next business day. So you'll definitely not be left waiting to hear from EDC in terms of a response to get you into the intake process here. Now, many of you have that information in your hands with the promotional brochure that we've just completed, and we hope that you'll take that information with you and use it. Now, our goal is to operate this fund, can I dare say perpetually, in the sense that we want this fund to continue well beyond the Baker administration in 2018. And this is a one-time infusion, or capital, should I say capitalization of this fund here. So the fund itself, through the repayment of these loans, will replenish itself. And that's how we'll sustain this program for years to come here. As a result of that, we had to put out an administrative procedures that guides everyone through this process internally through Prince George's County government and all of our organizations that will be touching the application process here. And it's basically a 15-step process from, let's say, the 30,000-foot level. But as you get closer to the surface, as David puts it, it actually becomes more like 85 distinct steps that are taken to guide an application to completion here. EDC, as I said before, is that front door, and they will be responsible for the intake of your application. And then our friends at the Financial Services Corporation will take up the responsibility of doing the credit underwriting. Now, after that, we'll get recommendations back to the executive office with regards to whether or not the application should move forward. In particular, our Chief Administrative Officer, Bradford Seaman, will then take that recommendation and we'll move forward with the application. There's also a financial advisory committee that will be formed of 7 individuals that are appointed by the county executive and the county council, who will serve as really that independent eyes that gives us advice as to whether or not a particular deal is viable here. These will be professionals that are in the banking industry who do not have any interest with the fund itself or with the individuals who are applying for those funds. Their job is to kind of give us that straight analysis that we need to make sure that we are safeguarding the taxpayers' funds here. And of course, in those extraordinary circumstances as provided by the statute, there will be council notification and or review. Once that takes place, we'll be moving towards loan closing and loan servicing. And of course, our FSC, Financial Services Corporation, will be involved in that. And we'll continue with our financial accounting, monitoring, and reporting as required by law. Our goal is to get you in the door with your application and actually complete that loan closing within 90 days. So it's important that the steps that are outlined by Shelley in terms of your information and preparation are already in place so that we can move forward here. So now I'm going to turn it over to David, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the various aspects of the loan fund itself here.
We've had some questions from members of the nonprofit community, and we did want to talk about that specifically. The question has been, are nonprofits eligible to apply for the fund? And the short answer is yes. But there are very strict statutory requirements in this legislation. You've heard it's about growing our commercial tax base. It's about adding jobs in Prince George's County, about keeping jobs in Prince George's County. And nonprofits are going to be subject to those same type of requirements as everyone else. So they are eligible. But because of the commercial tax base priority, it's going to, frankly, there'll be a challenge there in terms of meeting that. But we love our nonprofits, and we want them to know there are many resources in county government and in state government that are out there to assist them. There are programs that are administered in the county executive's office, the community partnership grant. The State Department of Housing and Community Development has its block grant program. And there are other grants between community groups and private foundations. The county council also maintains its own grant program. And again, there are state and federal grants that we have had a chance to work with nonprofits. So we love our nonprofits. They're eligible to apply for this, but the requirements are unchanging in terms of a for-profit company and a nonprofit company. we're really going to run this program very seriously, and it's going to be very transparent, and I know that County Executive Baker is absolutely committed to this program being run professionally, efficiently, and above board. All agreements that are approved by the county, especially upon approval by the county council, will be public information. This information will be posted on the website. Now, we will, of course, redact any personal information that people have supplied as part of the application process, but the basic terms of any loan will be public information. The county executive and the county executive staff are obligated to do quarterly reports to the county council. That'll be public information. There will be annual reports. There will be audit capability. Both the county executive and the county council have the ability under the law to ask for audits of any recipient of the funds. Remember, there's going to be a connection between us. It's going to be a loan of money to a company, but we are looking for, as Shelley talked about, some of the return on investment that Prince George's County is going to be looking for. And that may in some case be a commitment by a company to add a certain number of jobs or retain jobs or to do a capital program expansion of a certain size. And that'll be the type of thing that we'll be monitoring, and we will have the ability to look for compliance with that and through the audit process. And then again, another point that my colleagues have made, this is going to be a program that's going to be run on the strictest ethical standards. The members of the Financial Advisory Committee, for instance, will be under very strict disclosure and conflict of interest requirements. All of us up here are under the same type of requirements in county government to make sure it's run at the highest standards, something I know that is demanded by our boss. And we want everyone in the public to have absolute confidence this is going to be a professionally run program. It is going to be a application process, as you've heard, that is going to be, it's going to expect you to step up to the plate and demand and provide the documents going to be demanded and answer the questions that any bank would ask you to answer. But the Economic Development Incentive Fund, which the county executive has just announced is going to be operational tomorrow morning, it's been more than a year in progress to get us to where we are now. This is going to be a powerful economic development tool that will allow Prince George County to very ably compete with our neighbors, to compete in the state of Maryland, and to succeed in terms of job growth, job retention, and the growth of our commercial tax base. I am very excited, and I'm really proud to have had the chance to work with all these fine men and women in the county executive. We know that it's going to be, particularly through the loan program, a powerful source of resources for our small and our small minority locally owned businesses. It will allow Prince George's County to introduce many businesses that will come to us for the first time because of the Economic Development Fund, but might not qualify because of the credit scores that they have or some of the other tests. It'll allow us to introduce you to other programs and resources that are out there, the programs that Shelley Gross-Wade described. We look forward to the chance, if the Economic Development Fund is not the right answer, to try to find another tool in state government or local government that is the right answer. So I think we're going to now move to a question and answer format. I thank you very much on behalf of my colleagues, and I would I'm going to let the county executive know we're proud to have this assignment that you've given us, and we're going to work our best to live up to your high standards.